This happened about 2 years ago. I had just moved about an hour and a half away from home. The first time I had lived away from home. I was working on a kids' activity camp. All the staff lived in two massive cabins in the woods. There were about 40 people in each, 2 or 3 to a room. So you can imagine how big this cabin was. Anyway, everybody became really close. Some people knew each other from previous years working at this particular camp. None of us really locked our doors because we all knew each other and everybody hung out in different friends' rooms all the time. On this camp, my job was working with the kids during the day and doing evening shifts on the bar, which was there for the staff and the teachers and parents that had come with the children. One night, my roommate and I were both working an evening shift on the bar. She was finishing a couple of hours earlier as she was on a different shift. My roommate, Debs, decided that she was just going back to the room to read and wait for me to finish so we could watch a movie. She had been gone about 5 minutes, which is about how long it takes to get from the bar to the cabin, when my phone started ringing with her caller ID. I picked up the call as the bar was pretty dead that night and the only people in there were staff. When I picked up the phone call, nobody was saying anything on the other end. I put this down to her just butt dialing me by accident and hung up. About a minute later, I get another phone call from a friend that lived across the hallway from us. She told me that I needed to come back to the room now, so I asked the guy I was working with to cover while I popped back to the room quickly. I walked down the hallway and there were about 5 people just standing outside of my room. I walk inside and Debs is just standing there crying, which isn't like her at all. Our stuff was all over the room. Please note this is very weird because I'm pretty sure I have OCD. And often tidied my side and her side of the room even if she didn't want me to. She went on to tell me that her phone had gone missing. I then asked her about phoning me before I came back to the room and she had no idea what I was talking about. This means someone had taken her phone and knew who to call straight away. Also, when she left work, there would be no point in stealing her phone as it was literally worthless, £10 mobile at the most. A few days later, we started noticing that things had gone missing, but not normal things people would steal. They could have taken laptops, Kindles, a PlayStation, and games. Instead, all they took was my bra and knickers, some clean and some from the dirty washing. This made me feel sick, especially because we knew everyone that we lived and worked with. For a few days, I kept getting these phone calls from Deb's phone with just silence on the other end. We obviously went and reported it, and our bosses said they would look into it. We kinda got blamed for leaving our door unlocked, which I understand as being really stupid now. The creepy thing was, a few days later I walked into the staff lounge and Deb's phone was just placed on the windowsill. Nobody was in there and nobody seemed to be around. Well, at that point, I noped out of there as fast as I could and locked myself in my room until Debs came back. Nothing ever came out of it, and we never found out who it was, but I definitely have a feeling it was someone that knew us quite well, and who knew when we would both be out of our room. For the life of me, I still don't know who stole my underwear, my roommate's phone, and who trashed our room, but I've definitely learned a lesson, and that's not to leave my door unlocked, because there are gross creepers out there. I want to share a few things that have happened to me since moving to the land down under. I moved to Australia in 2018, built a home with my partner in far north Queensland. The area where we built is part of the Daintree rainforest. We are surrounded by rainforest, and the Coral Sea is about 50 meters through the dense bush. Things were relatively quiet until about 5 weeks ago. Now we are seeing min-min lights, or spook lights. Little balls of light that are far too big and bright to be glow bugs moving through the trees and about the property. Booms and bangs against the outside walls of our newly built home. We grab a torch and go out to see what's going on. The noise is so loud, if it had been a bird or bat, the poor thing would have broken a neck or at least stunned itself. The property is fenced in, gated, and locked. No rocks or clods of dirt on concrete. Nothing on the sides of our house if kids were pulling a prank. It literally sounds like hands banging against the walls. We get up to go see, then come back in, get back in bed, and it happens again, like it's toying with us. being mischievous. The locals and aboriginals have told me about Yowie, similar to US Bigfoot, Bunyip, and the other Dreamtime creatures that reside and make the Daintree their home. It is one of the oldest rainforests on the planet. We are surrounded by the beauty of nature, and now it is like every night is a new adventure. We don't know what might happen next. Nothing happens inside the home, just on the property. I've done research online and at the local library. Can't find anything other than the occasional Yowie sighting. I've gotten in touch with a few ghost hunting teams and asked my questions. Now I'm just waiting for a response to see if they may know of anything. My partner's sister said we may have built our home on a grave site, but I doubt this. Not everything is built on a grave site. It may just be the land itself. I know the Daintree is very special to the Aboriginal. It's sacred. Why is it when things like this happen, I never have my cell phone in my hand? It's like one is so caught up in the moment, all you can do is just experience it. But from now on, I'm going to try and capture something on film. When I was a kid years ago, we heard stories of a little boy ghost that haunted my grandparents' place. Stories like how they would hear my cousin's toys moving around at night or find his tricycle not where it was left. My uncle was renovating the basement one day by himself and was going back to the house with some lumber. He looked up at the house and the little boy was looking at him through the window. My turn when I was about 11 or 12. One day I was in the kitchen eating a sandwich and drinking a pop, and my little cousin was about 6 or 7 and he was drawing on a piece of paper on the floor. His back was to the basement stairs and he was crouched over drawing away. I was watching him and all of a sudden a little boy about 4 years old come tiptoeing up the stairs and he stood behind my cousin and was leaning over him watching what he was drawing. When he was doing this, he had his hands behind his back leaning over and then he turned and looked at me and smiled and ran down the hallway. When he got to the bathroom, he disappeared. I remember he was bow-legged and pigeon-toed by the way his feet swept back when he ran away. Also, he wore tight blue jeans that went above his ankles, navy blue socks, and a striped tight t-shirt. I'm a Native American from Alberta, Canada, and this little boy was Caucasian. We heard stories about an old man and a little boy that were buried in unmarked graves nearby. The land before we lived there was used to travel to a trading post that used to be near us. I bet it was him. Poor little guy. He was barely just a baby before he passed away. My grandparents were eventually tired of the stories and they prayed over the home and we never saw him again.